Hey guys, welcome back. I'm back on my little traveler's notebook stash kit for today's video. It's going to be a really quick one. I kind of had this idea in mind when I very first put the kit together because both of the kind of die cut packs that I had a lot of I don't know how to describe them, kind of like household shelf items. I know that sounds weird, but that Pink Fresh Studio Puffy sticker set also had this sticker called Coffee and Books, which sounds like, a fairly typical story around here. So I wanted to build a page kind of based around that sticker. There's always plenty of books and photos of coffee. This is going into my traveler's notebook though, rather than my kind of consumption life crafted album, because I haven't actually finished the book. This is kind of more a little bit about the actual story of sitting down with a cup of coffee rather than a review of the book. So chances are this book will end up in both places, and I am totally okay with that. So I have already gone through the die cuts packs and pulled out some of the ones that I think I want to use. I had a shuffle around of some papers. These two I picked probably purely because they were already trimmed down to traveler's notebook size. I've only got a few whole papers left, and I kind of considered cheating this time. I was going to cheat and pull out another paper because I would have preferred for this background to be one solid pattern, but I'm going to use two and just allow that it isn't exactly how I wanted it to be. I am trying to use the kit. So what I'm going to do is I've trimmed both of those pieces down. I think it's about 5.5 inches tall. And I have washi taped them together because I'm going to do a little bit of embossing. It's not something I do an awful lot, to be honest, and I quite like the look of it, especially when you're using kind of a darker paper like these two and white embossing powder. I just kind of love the look. You definitely don't get the same effect if you're using white ink on paper like this. So the embossing is what I'm going to go for today. So I've worked out where the placement of my photo is going to go, and I haven't prepped the paper at all. I'm not using a powder tool. It's a kind of spilled coffee ring stamp from Alton U, I think. It's a very old one. And so I don't mind if there's extra little bits of embossing powder around the place because it kind of just looks like spills. So I'm not being particularly neat and tidy with it. You can see why I taped the papers together though, so that one ring goes across at both sides of the page and it lines up perfectly. Now I've got those all embossed, and I am going to just adhere them down into my notebook. I've got some double-sided tape. There is that little gap through the middle of the spread. I don't mind. Your eye kind of visually crosses that gap, so it's fine. I wanted to create a shelf, and here's where I had a little bit of a, I wonder. I had trimmed out a couple of little strips from one of those scrap pieces, that kind of pink confetti paper, and I was going to use that as my shelf across the top of these two pattern papers. But the more I looked at it, first I kind of had this initial thought like, oh, I could use washi tape for that. It would be much easier. I really loved the washi tape border in last week's video, and so I kind of was thinking about that. Here I am just testing out how it looks with both, and I actually prefer the thinner line of the washi tape, but also the kind of yellowy gold, which, as I've discussed in previous videos, it's not a gold that I love. I don't use it a lot. But in this particular case, it kind of works really nicely with the yellow tones in my mug, as opposed to the pink. The pink is quite jarring, so it's definitely really visually different on the page. It stands out probably more than I want it to. Like, this is just going to be a little shelf. I kind of want my embellishments to be the main focus, not the bright pink of the shelf, which it would have been. So I went for the washi tape. So much easier just to push that all down. Again, I'm not splitting it over the middle of my book. I'm just kind of using my nail to make sure it's really just really adhered and really folded into that crease, and that way it's not going to lift or pucker when you're folding your book. Now I started kind of playing with the embellishment pieces. My book is pretty full. I gotta say, I'm nearly finished this notebook. I didn't think I would finish quite so quickly, but I have really enjoyed using this kit this month. So that left-hand page is not flat on the desk, so the little die cuts were sliding around all over the place. So I decided to use just a tiny bit of temporary adhesive. while I was playing around and getting the actual placement of them. This part was super fun, kind of like styling shelves in real life, but much less lifting. Definitely a lot easier. The one thing I did do with the die cuts, and I'm now adding in a few puffy stickers, and I won't do that to the puffy stickers, but to the die cuts, I cut off the white edge of the bottom of them. They all had that white edge, so I'm just trimming that off so that when I sit it on the shelf, it actually looks like it's sitting. There's no white line, it's not floating on the shelf, it actually sits down. The puffy stickers, they too had that white little line, but I'm definitely not. I didn't want to cut all the puffy stickers in case something terrible happened and they kind of fell apart. So their lines are a lot smaller than the die cuts were, so I just kind of left them alone. And now I like the placement, so I can go back in and permanently adhere everything that I've got. So I did kind of overlap some pieces. I think it kind of gives it a little bit more of a realistic look rather than just a lineup of stuff on the shelf. So generally I'm putting puffy stickers on top of the die cuts. I don't know if I overlapped any of the die cuts, maybe a little bit, just making sure that the shelf itself has kind of a nice variety of height. So I've got a little bit of a higher element on the right hand side here with this actual kind of like little extra shelf that is floating above my washi tape shelf, and I can fill in the gaps underneath there. So I'm matching that with the little floral and the jug of flowers on the left hand side. So my last thing to add here was my journaling, and I did and ah a little bit about how to do this. In the end, I decided to go with vellum. It does, you'll see as soon as I adhere it down, so I used my Xyron machine with the vellum, so kind of creating my own little vellum sticker of journaling. And when I adhere it down, it does go pretty see-through. I mean, you can see it in real life. It just looks a little bit harder to see here on video. But I really didn't want that to be like a great big white strip of journaling on regular paper, so the vellum ended up working nicely. And that's it. I really love how this page came out exactly how I pictured it, and you know that doesn't happen that often. Hey, thanks for watching today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there are a couple of videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you again really soon. Bye.